Okay, hello everyone. All right. So we are starting with analyzing the parts of a Java program, all right, of a simple, basic Java program, all right. Before that, let's just change a few things about Dr. Java. So if I type in something here, well, I have already changed mine, all right. I just type in anything. My font is good enough, but I think when you install Dr. Java for the first time, it's small. So to change it, just go to click on Dr. Java here. Make sure that the window is active. Click on it, and it should change to Dr. Java here. And then go to preferences, and when you go to display options, you're going to see show all line numbers here. Check it and hit apply, and you can see all the line numbers are here. The line numbers just help us. It's not part of the code. It just helps us see what line we are on. So I can point to, I say, okay, look at line 9, line 14, line 17, just so you can see what line we are referring to. Okay, also for the font, go to font here. And then I've changed mine to Monaco. I really like the Monaco font for coding. I use it for almost everything. 13 is good for me, but change it to whatever you want. All right, so you click on this here. You select type, whether it's bold, well, use plain. Just whatever you're comfortable with. And then 13. That's what I've used. Okay, and hit OK, apply, and OK. All right, so that's what we have. All right, so we're going to be analyzing the different parts of a very simple and basic Java program. So we need a Java program to analyze, right? So I'm going to type a very simple one on the screen. Just for now, don't worry about anything, just watch. And we'll talk about it. All right, so my typing is bad. I'm sorry about that. Okay. All right, so over here we have created a very simple basic Java program. All right, so I want to first talk about a few things. So this is our IDE, and this is our source code. This is our code. These line numbers are not part of the code, right? Now remember I said that the IDE allows us to type in our source code, which I just did, and then it's going to translate our source code to a language that the machine you're writing your code on understands, right? And that language is called machine language. Well, now we mentioned that with Java, there's an extra step. It converts it to first bytecode, and then from bytecode to machine language, right? So the way to let the IDE, the way to let the IDE change or translate this to machine language is by hitting this button, compile. So when you hit compile, okay, well, ignore this. When you hit compile, you're about to basically tell the compiler or the IDE to translate your code to a language that my machine or the machine that you're writing your code on understands. Now I created this folder here on the desktop here. Sorry, on the desktop. Well, it's in Dropbox actually, but this is an alias to it. This is a shortcut to it. So learn Java, and that's where we're going to be saving our programs just for record keeping sake. So I'm going to create a new folder for, let's say, this one. I'll call it parts of a Java. Let's say analyzing. Or let's say parts of a Java program. Parts of a Java program. It's just a folder, just for record keeping sake. All right, so I have created a folder here. This is where I'm just saving our files, right? Now remember I said that when we type in our code in the IDE, it's going to convert it to a language that the machine understands. So by hitting the compile button, it opens a dialog box that wants you to save the file. So name that file. It's going to compile it or translate it to that language, but then it's going to save that machine language in a file so the computer can understand it. And it wants you to name that file. All right. Now, the name of your before that, I'll get to that. All right. So before that, by default, it uses this name, but we'll get to that in a second. We don't want to even talk about this yet. So I'll just stick with that name, right? And if I don't type in .java here, right, it's going to save it with the extension .java. All right. Okay. So let's just do this 1 second. So I'm going to go ahead and, so like I said, if I don't end it with .java, it's going to save it as .java. So I'm going to save this in that folder. Okay. So we can see here that there's a location, Dropbox. That was just an alias. So it's saved as our first program.java, right? All right. Well, what I was actually supposed to do was actually save the file as our first program.java. Because I already hit the compile button, I have already told the IDE to basically compile my code to machine language so that the computer can understand it. I've already done that. Normally I was supposed to hit save and save it as our file, our first program.java. It's going to save this file in that folder, right? But when we hit compile, we are telling it to translate our code to machine language. Okay, the machine language that your machine understands. And it's going to do that and translate your code to machine language, but it's going to save it in another file. Okay, and that file is going to have the extension of .class. It's going to have the name of your program, however you saved your program. However, in this case, we saved as our first program.java. So it's going to save that machine language file as our first program.class. So when I open that folder over here, we can see when we open parts of a Java program, we can see that we have 2 files. This was the first one we did. So if you create your first program and you, let's say, hit save, right? I hit compile, but before you, and I've set up my IDE in such a way that anytime I hit compile, it should save it before. But if you write your program and you save it, you're going to have our first program.java, right? When you hit compile, you're saying, hey, translate this to the computer so that the computer understands. Change this to machine language so the machine understands. And so it's going to do that and then save it here in our first program.class so the machine understands this. Right, so when you hit compile, it's going to create an extra file called our first program.class and save it in that same folder. So that's what's going to happen. Now, because the program has, because the computer has this file and understands it, we can run it. When you tell the computer to run this program, it now understands it, this machine language. It now understands basically your code that has been translated to it, so we can run it. So when we hit the run button here, it's going to do what we've told it to do. Now this program, the purpose of this program is to display this message. This is our first Java program. And it's doing just that. It's displaying our first, it's displaying what we told it to display. Now you don't understand everything yet, but the purpose of this program is to just display this message. All right, so now let's get to the code. Okay, so let's start with this line on line 3 over here. So I'll take this down a little bit. All right, so we can see that it starts with two forward slashes here, right? And we can see we have a regular sentence. We are learning Java, and this is our first Java program. Now, anytime you have two forward slashes, what you have after that is a comment, all right? What you have is just a comment. It's just like a regular comment that you're going to write in your notes, like a side note to say, to try to explain what you're doing. This doesn't cause anything to happen in the program. It's just a note for you to understand what you're doing in your program. It's just to help you, give you more information on what you're doing in this particular program, or in this particular section of the program. Now, anything that follows the 2 forward slashes all the way to the end of the line can be a comment. So I can keep on adding. So let's just put and keep on adding more comments to it. As soon as I move to the next line, it doesn't become a comment anymore because there are no 2 forward slashes following it. But we'll get into comments later on. I just wanted us to have a feel of this program and know what everything means. So it has to be from the first line to the end of the line. Now we'll talk about comments, all right? But just know that 2 forward slashes, everything else is a comment. It doesn't really have any effects in your program. It's just to tell you, try to give you more info on what you're doing. Okay, now this line over here in line 5 here, it reads public class, our first program, right? Now this is what's called a class header. That's a class header. And think of a class as a container for your program, right? Just think of it as a container for your program. Now let's talk about the words here, right? Public. Okay, we are only analyzing it. Don't worry about anything for now. The goal is not to really understand anything now. It's just to have a feel of the program, and we will talk about the details of this as we are learning. All right, so public, it means just the word public. It means that this program, okay, or this class here is available to the public, meaning it's an access specifier. We are specifying the access of this, the access level of this class. We are saying that, hey, it's public, meaning any code outside of this class. What I mean by that is any code that is different from this, anyone's code that is different from this, different in another file, any code can access this class and use it. So it's, in other words, it's accessible to the public, right? So that's what it means. Class is just another keyword that means that, hey, we are defining a class. That's all. We are saying, okay, we are defining a class that is going to be public to code outside of this whole class, or any other code that's different from this. Our first program is the name of the class. Okay, it could be anything. It could be anything. You can come up with any name. It's just a name you're giving to the class. It can be anything, right? Now, like I said, think of a class as a container for your program, right? Now, when we saved our file, remember we saved it also as our first program.java. Now, .java is the extension for Java, all right? Anytime you save your file, you have to make sure that the name of the class is the same as the name of the file. See over here, the name of the class was called our first program, and then we saved our file also as our first program. If you do that, if you don't do that, you're going to get a problem. You're going to get an error. Okay, so again, just know this for now, but not really going hardcore on this. Just try to have a feel of it. We are just trying to have a feel of this program. Let me just put a space here just so we can really see it. Okay, so this is just a name for our class, right? The next thing we have is an opening brace. It's an opening brace over here. And this opening brace also has a closing brace here. Look at the last one. Don't look at this yet, but look at the very last one. So this opening brace has a closing brace here. So basically, this closing brace matches this. Now, Dr. Java does a good job by highlighting. If I highlight, for example, this opening brace, it goes all the way to highlight everything all the way to its closing brace. So this opening brace and closing brace, it's like a container. Okay, it's like a container. Everything in between those two opening braces is the body of the class. Okay, everything in between here is the body of the class. Now you can write your quotations this way. You can do this if it helps you, or if you like it that way. You can do this. There's an opening brace here. Everything in here is the body of the class, and there's a closing brace here. Now every opening brace has to have its own matching closing brace. If you open something, you have to close it. You open it, put your content in there, and you close it. And that's why when we open it over here, put our content in here, we closed it. Okay, so remember I said think of a class as a container for your program. So you can think of this as the container. This is the opening curly brace. We have our content in there, our body of the class, and then we have our closing curly brace. All right. Now I like to have mine here, so it's the same thing. We'll talk about all that later on. Okay, and then this line on line 7 is a method header. Okay, it's a method header. It's just like a class header, but it's a method header. The reason why it's a method, well, this is a class header and this is a method header, right? It's also a header. The only difference is it's a method header. Don't worry about the words in here too much, right? All you have to know is that this method is called main. Now a method, right? Let me talk about that. A method, again, don't get into it. Don't worry about the details. But a method is simply a series of programming statements. So something like this, basically a series of programming statements, that is related. Okay, they are related to each other. They are wrapped up in curly braces and then given a name. Okay, so it's a series of, it can be a series of one or more, or basically one or more programming statements wrapped up with curly braces, or wrapped up, just wrapped up, because it can be something else, wrapped up and then given a name. So for now, just know that this method here is called main. Okay, this is the name of it, and you can see we have an opening curly brace here. We have a closing curly brace here, and this is the body of this header. This is the body of this. This is the body of this method. Sorry. So the method header, it's called main. That's all you have to worry about for now. This is the opening curly brace. This is the body of the header. I keep on saying header. Sorry. All right. So this is the method header. This is the name of the method, which is main. This is the opening curly brace, and this is the body of the method. And then this is the closing curly brace of the method. Right. I hope I didn't jumble words around, but that's what I'm trying to say. Method header, name of the method, opening curly brace, body of the method, and then closing curly brace of the method. Again, if you have an opening curly brace, it's 7 as an enclosing element. So opening curly brace is just enclosing. It's enclosing the body of whatever it is, whether it's a method or it's a class. In this case, the class, we had an opening curly brace and we had its closing curly brace here, and it's enclosing everything in it. So this is the body of the class, and this is the body of the method, because we can see it's opening curly brace here and it's closing curly brace here. Like I said, don't worry about these words for now: public, static, void, and string. Don't worry about it for now. Just know that they are needed to make your program work. They're needed to make your method work. When you create a method, you have to specify all these things for the method to work properly. For now, just know that it's called main. Every method has to have a name, and this is the body of it. Now, to talk about a few more things. In this program, we have a public class. Now, every Java program you're going to have is going to have a public class. Okay, it's going to have at least one public class. It's going to have at least one class, right? Your program can have multiple classes. Again, don't worry about the keywords. This is just to have an opinion. So sit back and just listen. Don't worry about the details of it too much. What you have to know is that every Java program is going to have multiple classes. You can have several classes, but you're going to have only one public class. Only one public class. Every Java program that you write is going to have only one public class. And every Java program that you write is going to have a main method. Okay? Every program you write is going to have a main method. This is our method that we said is called main. This is the body of it. You can see the opening curly brace and closing curly brace. And this is our public class. You can have multiple classes, but you can only have one public class. And every Java program also is going to have one main method. Okay. So this is to have a feel of it. Now you can see that public is lowercase, class is also lowercase. This doesn't really matter, but there's a difference between public with a capital P and a difference between class with a capital C. For these method headers, it always has to be in lowercase. They all have to be lowercase. So public class has to be lowercase always. Now because this name is made by you, it can be anything. You can name it as, our first program that it can be anything, right? It can be anything. So just know that. But the keywords, and you can see Dr. Java has done a good job by highlighting it in blue, and you can see all the colors and all that. Keywords are basically color coded with different colors. So because this is made by us as a programmer defined keyword, we don't worry too much about. We can name it anything. It can be a mix of uppercase, lowercase. You can name it anything. It's yours. But these keywords have to be lowercase. Public, static, void. These ones have to be lowercase. This also same, right? And we can see something like this. In Java, there are certain things that you can write all in lowercase. There are certain things you can write all in uppercase. Right now, you don't have to worry about it. You will get a feel for it as we go, and I'll mention all of that. But the goal of this program was to, of this video was to have let you have a feel of basically how this program is running. Okay, now the thing we haven't talked about is this system.out.println statement. Okay, so the goal of this statement over here is to print out, or print out meaning to display or output what is in the two parentheses here, right? So what is in the two parentheses here is an opening quotation, some kind of a sentence that we are used to, and a closing quotation, right? A series of characters, okay, a series of characters this way in programming, a series of characters jumbled up together is called a string literal, right? A string literal, as in this. Now you can see that I started this with 2 forward slashes, so it's just a comment to myself. It's not going to affect the program in any way. Okay, anything from basically anything after the two double forward slashes all the way to the end of the line, just the end of the line, okay, is part of the comment. So I can keep typing all the way to the end of the line. I can keep going. As long as I haven't moved to another line, I'm still here. It's part of the comment. Okay, so a string literal is a series of characters jumbled up together, okay? So basically, this is a string literal, and that's what's in the two parentheses. Calling this, or basically using the statement, you are telling the program to display what is in the two parentheses without the quotations to display on the screen. Okay, the quotations are not part of it. We'll talk about all this and get into the specifics, but what this program is doing is displaying this argument. Now, I call it an argument, okay, is because that's the name for it. That's the name for it, right? That's the name for it. This is a statement, okay, that is accepting an argument. This thing is called an argument, okay? Whatever is in the two parentheses is called an argument, and this statement is printing or displaying to the screen what is in the two parentheses. So basically displaying the argument without the two quotations, okay, without the two quotations. And that's why when after compiling it and it creates the class file, okay. Now don't worry about this one. This is a backup file, okay. You can see it has the same name as the .java. It's a backup file of this, okay. It's some kind of a backup file. So don't worry about this one. In Mac, okay, don't worry about it. I'm not sure about Windows, but in Mac it creates this as a backup just in case you don't save your program and you lose it. You have a backup here. But this is our Java program, and when we compile it, we are telling it to, hey, translate. We are telling the IDE to translate this to the machine so it understands it. So it translates it into machine language and saves it here. Okay, and then when we run it, now we can run that class file, and it can do what we are telling it to do. So in this case, the purpose of this program is to display something on the screen, which is this argument here in the two parentheses without the quotation marks. And we'll talk about the details of this. The last thing we haven't talked about is the semicolon at the end of this line. A semicolon is just like a period in English. In English, we write a sentence like we're learning, and then we end it with a period. All right. The semicolon is just like a period in programming. It's used to terminate a line. It's used to end a line. Right. Now, not all lines have semicolons. So you can see that things like things like classes. Okay, classes don't have a semicolon to terminate it. Things like curly braces don't end with don't end with semicolons. You don't terminate those. Things like public, methods. Okay, methods don't have to be terminated. Things like, again, opening curly braces don't have to be terminated. But a statement like this has to be terminated. And again, we'll learn all about it. You can see curly braces don't have to be terminated. But basically, the semicolon is used to terminate statements in programming. It's used to end a line of code in programming. And there are some things you terminate, there are some things you don't terminate. And we'll talk about all of this. But again, the purpose of this program was for you to have a feel of how a Java program works, or at least to analyze, to have a feel of it. Now we'll get into the details of it and learn more about it. All right. So I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, please comment down below, and I'll do everything to respond to them. Thank you very much for watching. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time with the next video. All right then. Bye-bye.